Welcome to Beyond Earth Stories, where time bends, imagination breathes, and the forgotten worlds of our planet come alive once more. Here we don't travel through stars or galaxies. We journey through Earth itself, through its pulse, its memory, its endless transformation. So find a quiet moment, wherever you are, and let's drift back, not millions, but tens of millions of years, to an age when the Earth was young, wild, and radiant with life. There's a stillness before you begin to imagine it, a silence that belongs only to ancient time. The world around you fades. The hum of modern life, the lights, the noise, the clock all dissolve. What's left is a heartbeat, a soft, patient rhythm that seems to echo from somewhere below your feet. That sound, that slow, steady pulse is Earth itself. It has been there since before mountains rose, before rivers carved their valleys, before any creature learned to walk or fly. Close your eyes and breathe. You're standing at the edge of time. The air you inhale carries the same molecules that once passed through forests of ferns, taller than houses that once filled the lungs of creatures whose shadows would have dwarfed entire cities. We are about to travel backward not through imagination alone, but through memory, written in stone, bone, and breath. The Earth remembers everything. Every storm, every tide, every footstep that ever pressed into its soil has left a trace, not in the way we remember, not in thoughts or stories, but in the quiet persistence of matter. A leaf turned to coal, a ripple frozen in rock, a bone transformed into crystal. When you look at the ground beneath you, you are standing on a library so vast, no human could ever read it all. Every layer of soil is a page, every fossil, a sentence, every grain of sand, a letter written by time itself. Tonight, we open one of those pages, and on it is written the story of a world that once glowed green and gold under a heavier sky. A time when continents were still wandering, when volcanoes were taller than clouds, and when life had reached its greatest expression of size, color, and sound. The Cretaceous, the final act of the age of dinosaurs, the last great symphony before silence. But before we go there, let's understand something simple and profound. This story is not about extinction, it's about continuity. Because even when entire worlds vanish, the Earth doesn't stop. It reshapes, rebuilds, and begins again. And everything that once lived remains a part of everything that lives now. Every breath you take contains a whisper of their world. You may think of time as a straight line, past behind us, future ahead. But on Earth, time moves in circles. It loops and folds, echoing patterns again and again. The rain that falls on your window tonight once fell on the back of a dinosaur. The calcium in your bones once belonged to the shell of an ammonite drifting through an ancient sea. You are not separate from the past. You are its continuation. So let's begin. Imagine standing in a place with no cities, no roads, no sound of engines. The air is warmer, heavier. It smells of resin, wet leaves, and salt. Mist rises from distant forests, and the horizon curves wide and open beneath a golden sky. The sunlight here is softer, filtered through thick, humid air that bends it into hues of amber and green. This is not another planet. This is Earth 66 million years ago. You hear it before you see it, a low, thunderous vibration, rhythmic, deliberate. The sound rolls across the land like distant drums. Something massive is moving through the trees, not in fear, not in haste, but in calm procession. The ground trembles under each step. And then, from the shadow of ferns, it appears a shape so vast and graceful, it almost seems to belong to a dream. A titanosaur. Its neck arches like a living bridge toward the canopy, its body swaying gently with each stride. It moves through the forest as easily as a whale glides through the sea. Every step leaves behind a footprint big enough to cradle a human being. Its tail sweeps slow arcs through the air, scattering insects that shimmer like sparks in the sunlight. The sound of its breathing fills the air, a slow, steady exhalation that feels ancient like the sigh of the earth itself. In this world, nothing is quiet for long. Dragonflies buzz like living jewels above the water. Cicadas fill the forest with their constant pulse. The wind rustles through leaves that are unfamiliar to your eyes, plants that no human has ever seen alive. Look closer and you'll see that this forest isn't random. It's an intricate machine powered by sunlight. Every leaf, every flower, every insect is part of a vast conversation. The first true flowers have begun to bloom, small, delicate, but revolutionary. They are the newest invention of life, bright petals to attract insects' nectar, to reward them, pollen to carry life from one to another. In this quiet exchange between plant and insect evolution is writing a new language, one that will one day fill the world with color. The air hums with that conversation. Beetles glint under the sun like fragments of metal. Butterfly ancestors hover clumsily above petals, learning the dance of pollination. And in the branches, feathered shapes move with restless intelligence. They are not quite birds, not quite reptiles, but something in between. Their eyes glimmer with awareness. Their wings twitch as if impatient to test the air. Flight, the great rebellion against gravity, is still new. The sky is just beginning to belong to them. You stand beneath it all, surrounded by life so dense it feels almost liquid. The forest breathes with you. You can feel the rhythm, the rise and fall of heat, the pulse of insects, the slow respiration of trees. This world doesn't know stillness. It exists in motion, in cycles, in endless renewal. From far away, thunder murmurs. Or maybe it isn't thunder at all. Maybe it's the deep rumble of another giant, a predator moving through the mist. In the clearing, shadows shift. A head rises, framed by teeth and light. It's not the nightmare Hollywood made it. It's not a monster. It's a creature, a product of balance designed by time itself. A Tyrannosaurus rex. Its scales glint in the golden air. Feathers fringe its neck. Each breath escapes as a soft cloud of heat. It pauses, not hunting, not roaring, simply existing. It blinks, lifts its head to the wind, and in that moment, it feels less like a beast and more like a monument, a living sculpture carved by 100 million years of survival. You realize something important: the dinosaurs didn't rule this world as tyrants. They were part of it. Every giant herbivore depended on the plants that thrived in volcanic soil. Every predator depended on those herbivores, and the plants themselves depended on the carbon exhaled by every creature around them. It was a perfect circuit of breath, a balance so complete it seemed eternal. And yet, even in this perfection, the seeds of change are already there. Far beneath your feet, magma moves. The continents drift, pulling apart like slow tides. The planet is never truly still. It hums with motion even in its calmest hours. The Cretaceous Earth feels infinite, but it isn't. Time, even when stretched across millions of years, always moves forward. And though the creatures here can't sense it, a shadow is already crossing the edge of the sky, not in light, not yet, but in destiny. For now, though, everything is alive. The air glows. The rivers shine like mirrors. And somewhere above, a feathered creature leaps from a branch and catches the wind, its wings beating once, twice, then gliding effortlessly through the sunlight. You watch it rise, a fragment of life defying gravity. It drifts across the golden sky, and for a moment, you forget that this is the past. Because it doesn't feel ancient. It feels present, alive. That's the truth. The earth keeps repeating, nothing ever truly ends here. Every extinction, every catastrophe, every silence gives birth to something new. The world remakes itself endlessly, And so, as you stand in the shadow of giants, surrounded by forests that will one day turn to stone, you are not just looking backward. You are looking inward at the same force that still moves through you now, the urge to endure, to change, to live. The story of the Cretaceous is not a fossil in the ground. It's a pulse still beating a rhythm that never stopped a song. The planet continues to hum beneath the sound of our own world. Take one last breath in that heavy, ancient air. The warmth, the scent of life, the tremble of the earth. The journey has just begun. The air thickens as you move deeper into this world. The light softens, filtered through towering leaves the size of sails. Every breath tastes of moisture, resin, and something faintly metallic, the breath of a planet that has never known cold. The earth beneath your feet is warm, its crust restless, alive with slow fire. Rivers meander lazily through jungles that stretch beyond the horizon, feeding into vast inland seas that glitter beneath a sun larger and redder than you've ever seen. This is not a world built for silence. Every direction hums with life. The forests murmur alive with the wings of insects and the rustle of animals moving through undergrowth. Ferns rise in layers like green cathedrals, their fronds arching high above streams that gleam with minerals washed from volcanic slopes. The trunks of ancient cycads twist upward, bark glistening with sap. Between their roots, small flowering plants bloom in colors that seem to invent light itself, yellows like sunlight trapped in petals, reds as deep as volcanic glass. They are the newest revolution on Earth. The flowering plants, creatures of partnership. Their beauty is not decoration, but strategy. Their colors and scents are invitations written in chemistry and shape. They offer sweetness in exchange for movement. Insects answer. A beetle lands on a bloom, its carapace gleaming bronze in the heavy air. A moment later, it lifts off carrying invisible dust that will birth another generation of flowers elsewhere. Each exchange a transaction in the oldest economy of life, energy traded for survival. Above, something darts through the light, a dragonfly, its wings refracting sunbeams into shards of color. It hovers, tilts, and vanishes, with a sound like silk tearing. The air is alive with these small flashes of motion, each one a testament to the precision of evolution. Life here wastes nothing. The heat, the moisture, the endless photosynthesis, all of it feeds into a rhythm older than thought. The forests breathe in, carbon exhale oxygen, and the animals answer with the opposite, a perfect cycle of exchange. This world is a greenhouse warm from pole to pole. Ice has no home here. Even near the edges of the planet where nights stretch, long forests grow thick under skies that never truly darken. The continents themselves are strangers to stability. They drift apart like slow ships carried by currents of molten stone. The ocean floor spreads wide, reshaping coastlines, swallowing old lands and raising new ones. Where rock splits, volcanoes rise, their slopes glowing in the distance. Their smoke hangs in the sky like banners feeding clouds that gather and break into endless storms. Rain falls not as interruption, but as heartbeat. It drums against leaves, fills hollows, carves channels through mud. The water carries minerals back to the sea, and the cycle begins again. Every drop, every gust, every tremor is part of the same living system. The Earth is not a stage on which life performs. It is a participant shaping and being shaped by what grows upon it. Even now, the crust beneath the soil breathes heat upward, feeding forests with invisible energy. You can feel it if you pause, the faint warmth rising through the soles of your feet. Along the coast, the world changes. The air grows saltier, the light more intense. Here, the boundary between land and water blurs into a maze of lagoons and deltas. Mangrove-like trees rise on roots that twist like hands reaching into the tide. The surface shimmers with the reflection of enormous ferns. In the shallows, life swarms crustaceans, mollusks, the flicker of small fish flashing like coins. The tide pulls back, and in the exposed sand the prints of creatures overlap the claw marks of a small raptor, the splayed feet of reptiles, the delicate trace of a bird that has just taken flight. For a moment, the pattern looks almost deliberate, as if the planet itself is signing its name. Beyond the shore, the sea deepens into an expanse of blue-green water, heavy with plankton. Beneath the surface, light fades quickly, replaced by a soft green haze. Schools of fish move like liquid mirrors, turning in perfect unison. Below them, ammonites drift their spiral shells glinting faintly. They are the mathematicians of the ocean, each coil a record of growth, a perfect logarithm in stone. Farther below, shadow moves. A shape, vast and silent muscle, coiled in patience. A mosasaur. It glides through the depths with a grace that defies its size. Its jaws open and close in silence, a whisper of power. It hunts not out of cruelty, but necessity. Everything in this world is part of the same equation. Energy, balance, continuation. Above the water, the air breaks with motion. Pterosaurs glide on wings stretched thin as paper, their crests catching sunlight in flashes of crimson and gold. They ride the wind effortlessly, turning circles over the waves. One dips low, skimming the surface with its beak, catching a fish in a motion so fluid it seems premeditated. For a moment, its reflection merges with its body. Two beings, sky and sea, mirrored perfectly. The warmth of this world is deceptive. It feels endless, but it carries its own tension. High carbon levels feed the plants, yes, but they also thicken the air, trap the heat, and raise the seas. The oceans climb higher each millennium, creeping into forests, swallowing lowlands. Yet life doesn't resist. It adjusts. Trees spread farther up slopes. Reeds take root in flooded plains. New species evolve to swim where others once walked. Change is not catastrophe here. It is routine. If you could see the planet from space, it would shimmer in hues of deep green and turquoise. The continents are scattered like islands across the vastness of the ocean. North America is split by an inland sea that glows pale blue. Europe is a chain of archipelagos. Australia still clings to Antarctica. India rushes northward, an unsinkable island bound for collision. From this height, you would see storms spiraling over equatorial waters, lightning flashing in patterns of electric lace. The world seems peaceful, but you would know it's alive in the truest sense. Dynamic, restless, evolving. Back on land, beneath the canopy, life grows thick around decay. A fallen log, half rotten and furred with moss, hums quietly with the sound of beetles. Ants carry fragments of leaf down into hidden colonies. Fungi spread white threads through the wood, turning death into nourishment. This is the other half of abundance decomposition as creation. The forest doesn't mourn, it recycles. Every fallen leaf becomes the foundation for something new. The cycle never ends. Somewhere deeper in the jungle, a clearing opens filled with golden light. Small mammals dart between roots, quick, cautious shapes with large eyes and nimble hands. They are not yet significant, not yet rulers of anything, but already clever, already learning the art of survival through adaptation. They scavenge for seeds, dig for insects, memorize the rhythms of their world. Instinct will one day become intelligence, but for now, it is enough that they endure. Nearby, a herd of hadrosaurs moves slowly through the ferns. Their calls echo softly low resonant tones that travel through the mist like the sound of distant horns. Adults move in protective arcs around their young. They feed, shift, and move again, their tails slicing arcs through the air. Above them, a predator watches from the trees. A feathered raptor, small but precise. Its eyes gleam with calculation. It does not attack. Not yet. It waits. Even here, patience is a form of power. Rain begins to fall, large drops at first, then sheets of water. The surface of the river ripples under the weight of it. Steam rises where rain meets warm soil. The sound is immense, not violent, but enveloping like the planet exhaling. The herd continues to move indifferent to the downpour. The raptor withdraws into the foliage, feathers slicked dark against its body. The rain will pass. It always does. When the storm clears, the forest glows. Every surface glistens with reflected light. Tiny rivulets trace paths through mud, joining to form small streams. The smell of life, rich, sharp electric, fills the air. Somewhere deep in the canopy, a bird lifts its head and sings. The sound is pure, clear, almost modern. It's the sound of the future, a descendant of dinosaurs announcing that flight, once an experiment, has succeeded. Far beyond this forest, the mountains glow faintly red in the distance. Lava seeps through fissures, slow and unstoppable. Volcanic gas drifts high into the atmosphere, mingling with the clouds. To the creatures of this world, it means nothing. But in truth, it is the Earth's quiet reminder that balance is never permanent. The same energy that gives life also reshapes it. The ground itself is part of the cycle. Growth above mirrors movement below. The heat of the day fades into dusk. The forest breathes slower now. The sky deepens to amber, then violet. Fireflies begin to rise, their lights blinking in gentle rhythm, small sparks of chemistry floating through ancient air. Somewhere far off, the sea murmurs. The giants settle into stillness. The night hums with life unseen. You can almost feel the heartbeat, again, slow, steady, infinite. It moves through roots, through water, through the air that fills your lungs. The pulse of the planet itself, unchanged after millions of years. Samori. The world sleeps, but the earth never does. Night spreads like a slow tide across the ancient world. The light fades from the canopy, sinking into the forest floor until only the faint glow of fireflies remains small. Drifting embers of life suspended in the humid dark. The air hums with the soft percussion of insects. Far in the distance, thunder rolls along the horizon, so deep and low, it feels less like sound and more like movement beneath your ribs. If you could stand here long enough, you'd notice that the darkness is not empty. It is full of quiet purpose. The forest shifts into its nocturnal rhythm. Creatures that hid in the daylight now emerge, small, careful, deliberate. A pair of tiny mammals scurry along a fallen log, their fur slick with mist. They pause, sniff the air, and dart under the roots of a tree. Their eyes gleam with reflection, their whiskers twitching. These are not the rulers of this world, not yet. But every gesture they make carries the faint echo of something to come. Intelligence begins this way, not in dominance, but in awareness. Somewhere above, wings stir. A shadow passes through the dimness, a bird-like form gliding between branches, feathers outlined against starlight. It lands silently, tilts its head, and lets out a soft trill that vanishes into the trees. The sound doesn't echo. It blends with the night. Even now, evolution is whispering new possibilities into being. The forest breathes with an even rhythm. Leaves drip with the last of the rain. Water trickles through roots into shallow pools, reflecting the slow dance of light from fireflies. Each droplet holds an entire sky, tiny constellations inverted in liquid mirrors. Somewhere close by, something exhales a deep, deliberate breath. You feel it before you hear it. The ground trembles slightly. A shadow moves through the fog, vast and slow. It's a Triceratops. Its silhouette is immense, crowned by horns that gleam faintly in the pale light. Each step lands with a muted thud, the weight of tons pressing into soft earth. Behind it, smaller shapes follow juveniles, cautious but curious, mimicking the movements of their parent. They pause to graze, tearing up low ferns, with beaked mouths, chewing rhythmically. Their bodies glisten with moisture muscles shifting beneath thick skin. The herd moves like a single organism, breathing, turning, listening. A distant rumble draws their attention, and every head lifts at once. The world goes still for a heartbeat, then resumes. Balance. This world runs on it. Every breath, every movement, every sound is part of a vast, invisible equation. Energy transfers endlessly, sunlight to leaf, to flesh to soil, and back again. Even decay is creation here. When a tree falls, fungi bloom across its bark, beetles carve intricate tunnels through its core, and roots from nearby saplings begin to feed on what remains. Death isn't an interruption, it's a conversion. The earth wastes nothing. At dawn, the first light spills through the mist like liquid gold. The air warms instantly. The forest awakens not with chaos, but with sequence. Insects first, then birds, then the larger creatures stirring in the distance. The sun climbs through haze filtered through moisture and smoke. The colors shift constantly, pale green at the horizon, amber above, soft blue beyond. If you could capture the scent of this morning, it would be thick with life, wet soil, resin, pollen, and the faint sweetness of blooming plants. A river winds nearby, glinting between tree trunks. Its surface ripples as small reptiles dive in and out, chasing flashes of silver fish beneath. The sound of water mixes with calls, long resonant notes that carry across the landscape. Somewhere on the far bank, a herd of hadrosaurs moves in unison, their duck-billed heads rising and falling as they feed. Their calls are deep and melodic, echoing through the air like the voices of foghorns. Its communication simple, emotional, perhaps even social. They warn each other of predators, signal movement, keep contact with their young. Their language is primitive only by human standards. To them, it is everything. Predators follow as they always have. In the shadows of trees, a Tyrannosaurus stands motionless. Its breath fogs the air, condensing in faint streams before fading. Its eyes are steady, unblinking. It is not a monster, not a symbol of rage. It is an equation of survival, made flesh. It waits, senses calibrated to sound and scent reading the air for weakness. A shift in the wind carries the musk of prey. Muscles tense. It moves one step at a time, almost silent. The attack, when it comes, is a blur of physics and precision. The ground shakes, birds explode from the canopy, and the air splits with the bellow of power, meeting panic. Dust rises. For a moment, everything is motion, flailing limbs, crashing ferns, the sharp, tearing sound of survival. Then, as quickly as it began, it's over. The forest exhales again. The predator feeds, and the cycle continues. The earth absorbs it all without judgment. Beyond this scene, the land changes once more. Hills give way to open plains, broken by clusters of conifers and flowering trees. The wind moves more freely here, carrying the scent of salt and rain from the distant sea. You can see the horizon curve in every direction, vast and unbroken. Herds move across it, giant sauropods, their necks sweeping through the haze like living cranes. The ground vibrates gently beneath their steps. They are architects of the ecosystem, reshaping the land with their weight, spreading seeds through their droppings, maintaining balance through appetite alone. Where they walk, life follows. Storm clouds gather overhead. The sky darkens to slate, and a line of lightning splits the horizon. Rain follows almost instantly, thick, heavy drops that fall with the force of small stones. The plains vanish under sheets of water. Rivers overflow, carving new paths. The creatures do not run. They have seen this before. The rain is part of the rhythm. It fills lowlands, nourishes soil, cools the breath of the world. The thunder that follows rolls endlessly, folding into the pulse of the earth itself. When the storm passes, a silence lingers. The air glows faintly pink with the returning sun. Steam rises in columns from the wet ground. It smells like renewal. Across the flooded plains, flowers already lift their faces to the light petals beaded with water. Within hours, insects swarm again, undeterred by destruction. Life has no pause button here. It simply shifts form. Far to the south, volcanoes light the night sky with distant fire. The land trembles occasionally under their breath. New rock spills outward in slow rivers of molten orange, cooling to black glass. Ash drifts high into the stratosphere, spreading like a thin veil across the heavens. For the creatures below, it's a spectacle, just another sunrise that happens to burn brighter. But in truth, this fire carries a whisper of what's to come. For now, though, the earth remains generous. The forests grow back thicker after every eruption. The soil enriched by ash feeds even denser growth. Rivers shift course, but always return. Species vanish, others appear. The balance adjusts itself constantly. The planet is a system of improvisation, self-correcting, self-sustaining. And in that balance, something extraordinary is happening. Tiny, almost invisible creatures are rewriting the chemistry of the air. Cyanobacteria and plankton, the architects of oxygen, bloom across the oceans, capturing sunlight and exhaling new breath. The entire atmosphere shimmers with their labor. The planet breathes deeper, brighter, fuller. It's easy to think of the Cretaceous as static, a painting of jungles and giants, frozen in time. But standing here, you understand it differently. Nothing in this world is still. The land moves, the air pulses, the seas churn. Even mountains are temporary. Every sound you hear, the wind, the thunder, the distant call of creatures, is part of a conversation between rock and life. The sun begins to set again, a slow molten descent that stains the sky with red and gold. Shadows stretch across the plains, and the temperature drops just slightly enough for mist to rise once more. The air feels heavier now, thicker with scent. Insects swarm in silhouettes against the fading light. Birds call out, finding roosts. Somewhere far away, a great beast bellows, low, resonant, and final. As night falls, the world exhales once more, and the rhythm continues. The same pulse you heard before, the deep, patient heartbeat of a living planet, beats still. Unseen, unbroken, eternal. The mist lingers long after the sun has vanished. It hovers above the ground like a thin veil, catching the faint light of distant lightning far beyond the horizon. The forest glows softly, its leaves glistening from the rain. Beneath the canopy, the air feels alive, not just with moisture, but with movement. Crickets pulse in rhythmic waves. Frogs croak from unseen pools. The night breathes as though the planet itself were inhaling and exhaling in slow, deliberate rhythm. Somewhere in the distance, water cascades over stone. A river swollen from the recent storm winds through the dark forest, carving its path through volcanic rock. Each drop, each ripple carries the memory of mountains that rose and eroded long before these creatures existed. The river doesn't know where it came from or where it's going, but it moves because it must. Like time, it flows in one direction, only cutting the story of the earth into layers of stone. On the riverbank, fireflies hover above ferns. Their glow flickers against the reflection of the water. Tiny stars trapped between worlds. In that reflection, you can see the silhouettes of creatures coming to drink. A pair of long-necked titanosaurs approach slowly, their steps silent, except for the rustle of soaked grass. Steam rises gently from their flanks as the cool night air touches warm skin. They lower their heads, lips breaking the surface of the river, creating ripples that distort the starlight. Farther upstream, a different rhythm unfolds. Small shapes move among the reeds, amphibians, insects, and early reptiles, all sharing the same narrow space. One of them, a small crocodiliform, slides quietly into the water eyes, just above the surface. It waits. Patience is its greatest weapon. When a fish ventures too close, the strike comes so fast it doesn't create a splash, only a faint displacement in the moonlit water. The predator feeds, then settles back into stillness, as if the entire act never happened. Above, the sky begins to clear. Clouds drift apart to reveal a vast dome of stars, more brilliant than any sky seen in human history. There is no light pollution, no artificial glow, only the raw, endless depth of space. The Milky Way cuts a white scar across the heavens, a river of light mirroring the one below. The same stars you see now, Vega, Sirius, Altair, are already burning in this ancient sky. The constellations have not yet been named, but they're the same patterns you'd recognize today. For all the change below, the universe above is almost unchanged. Dawn creeps back, slowly blue before gold. The temperature rises again, and the mist begins to dissolve into air. The world stirs. Leaves unfurl, birds stretch wings, and the steady hum of day returns like a rising orchestra. Insects reclaim the air, and the forest explodes with color. It's a living kaleidoscope, flowers opening in every direction, their petals turning toward the first light. Pollen drifts in golden clouds, glittering in shafts of sun that pierce through the canopy. A small creature scurries along the forest floor, not reptile, not quite mammal, something in between. It's covered in soft fur, its eyes large, its movements quick and careful. It digs through the soil, uncovering seeds left from the previous season. Its heartbeat races. For a moment, it freezes, nostrils twitching. The sound of a branch snapping somewhere nearby sends it darting back into its burrow. It knows what hides in this forest. From behind the ferns, a shadow passes. Feathers shimmer faintly with iridescence. A raptor, small, agile, precise. It tilts its head, scanning the ground with sharp eyes. Its tail, long and feathered, balances every motion. Each step is deliberate. It's a creature built entirely around focus. When it moves, it's not hunting out of anger or cruelty, but instinct, the inherited memory of survival repeated for millions of years. Its claws brush the earth once, twice, then silence again. Farther away in the open plains, the day burns hotter. The air wavers with heat, bending the horizon into liquid. Herds of hadrosaurs graze across the floodplain, their low calls rising and falling like a slow melodic chant. Each note is communication, reassurance, warning, contact. Calves stay close to the center adults, forming a moving wall around them. The herd turns as one, moving toward higher ground, where fresh shoots grow after the rain. Their scale is astonishing. Dozens of creatures, each as long as a bus, moving in perfect unison, not chaos, but choreography. Overhead, the sky fills with motion. Pterosaurs glide in broad spirals, riding thermals that rise from the heated ground. Their wings stretch wide, casting shadows that ripple across the herds below. One swoops low, dipping into the wind before climbing again, effortless and quiet. These are creatures that have mastered the physics of the air. Some hunt, others simply travel, but all of them remind you that flight is no longer an experiment. It's the new language of survival. Inland. The terrain begins to rise into hills and ridges where the air cools slightly. Streams trickle down from unseen springs, feeding into the plains below. Trees grow thinner here, replaced by conifers, whose needles shimmer silver in the sunlight. On the highest ridge, the world opens into distance. Forests, rivers, mountains, and beyond them a sea that glitters like molten glass. It's a view of a living planet in its prime, every inch of it busy with transformation. Yet beneath the beauty, the ground itself is restless. You can feel it if you stand still long enough, a faint vibration underfoot, not from any creature, but from the Earth's own movement. Far below, molten rock shifts, pushing continents apart. The plates of the planet slide and grind, building mountains and tearing rifts open in the ocean floor. Volcanic smoke rises faintly from the horizon, a distant gray column merging with clouds. It's beautiful in a way, but it carries consequence. The gases it releases, carbon dioxide, sulfur, drift unseen into the air, thickening the atmosphere one breath at a time. The world absorbs the change easily at first. Forests grow thicker. Plants feed on the extra carbon, spreading faster, greener, denser. The air becomes richer in oxygen, almost intoxicating to breathe. But balance is never static. The warmth that feeds life also begins to shift the rhythms that sustain it. Rain falls in new patterns. Seas rise higher than before. Each year, the map of the world redraws itself by inches. The animals adapt without knowing it. Migration routes stretch farther. Nesting grounds shift. New species appear, others vanish. Evolution doesn't argue with the Earth, it listens. Every change in temperature, every movement of the tide, every eruption becomes a sentence in the planet's conversation with life. By midday, the heat deepens. The world seems to shimmer. The sound of insects swells until it feels like the air itself is vibrating. You can taste salt soil pollen all mixed into the breath of this living world. A storm is building again on the horizon. You can see it before you hear it, a wall of dark clouds towering higher than mountains. Lightning flashes deep inside, silent for now, but constant. The forest darkens. Wind stirs the canopy. Leaves twist undersides, flashing silver. The animals begin to move, herds turning birds, lifting small creatures, vanishing into hollows. The first gust arrives like a whisper. Then the world breaks open. Rain comes in sheets, hammering the leaves. Thunder cracks across the plain. Trees bend under the weight of the wind. The air turns white with water. You can barely see more than a few steps ahead. Yet through the chaos, nothing feels unnatural. The storm belongs here as much a part of this ecosystem as sunlight or soil. When it passes as quickly as it came, the forest glows once more, cleaner, quieter, reborn. The rivers overflow again, carrying nutrients downstream. The scent of wet earth rises thick and sweet. In the distance, a rainbow arcs across the steaming plain, colors so vivid they seem unreal. You realize then this world is not peaceful, nor is it violent. It simply is. It moves in cycles, each destruction feeding creation, each end giving birth to another beginning. Everything here exists in balance, even the storms, even the fire, even the endless hunger of its creatures. And beneath it all, unseen but constant, the heartbeat continues, the pulse of a living planet, the rhythm that has never once stopped. ChatGPT said, "The air after the storm tastes clean, mineral and green like new life distilled into breath. The world steams. Mist curls from the ground and the leaves shine as if polished. For a few precious hours, everything is calm. You can hear the faint crackle of cooling branches, the gentle hiss of water dripping from the canopy, and somewhere far away, the low moan of thunder retreating toward the horizon. The forest floor, once hidden under dense foliage, is littered with fallen leaves, branches, and broken ferns. Beetles are already at work, crawling over the debris, their metallic shells flashing in the fading light. Ants swarm across the surface, moving in endless lines. They are the first responders of the ecosystem, the silent engineers of renewal. Within hours, they will clear the remains, break it down, and feed it back into the soil. Life here doesn't pause to admire the aftermath. It acts, adapts, and continues. The world's rhythm leaves no space for hesitation. Every creature born into it knows this law without knowing how it knows. From the open plain, the low calls of hadrosaurs echo once more, cautious questioning. The herd moves slowly, mud clinging to their legs, steam rising from their damp bodies. They return to graze where the rain has revived the greenery. Above them, small birds flutter between branches, shaking water from their feathers. Their wings catch light like fragments of sky. And then, just for a moment, the air shifts. A sound cuts through the rhythm of insects and dripping leaves. Not thunder this time, but something sharper. A deep, throaty call rolling across the land like a warning. The hadrosaurs freeze. Silence spreads outward like a ripple. Even the birds stop. From the shadow of the forest, a predator emerges. A tyrannosaurus, taller than the trees around it, its body glistening from the rain. Each movement is slow, but certain. Its head tilts, nostrils flaring, tasting the air. It can smell life, the musk of wet earth, the sweat of prey, the metallic tang of water. Its eyes narrow. Every motion is calculation. It moves forward. The ground vibrates faintly beneath its weight. Insects scatter. A bird bursts upward from the undergrowth wings, thrashing against leaves. The predator doesn't chase. It waits. It knows patience. Evolution has taught it that hunger is best satisfied by timing, not fury. The herd, sensing danger, but not direction, shifts formation. The adults close in around the young. Tails sweep the air in nervous arcs. For a long moment, nothing happens. The predator's gaze flickers, calculating distance and wind. Then, with a sudden precision, it moves, not roaring but in silence, its legs coiling and releasing with terrifying grace. The chase is brief. The herd scatters into mist and mud water spraying in all directions. The impact body against body sounds like thunder returned. A single hadrosaur falls, its weight shaking the ground. The air fills with the raw, terrible sound of struggle. Then silence again. It is brutal, but it is balance. The predator feeds, and the world continues. Nothing mourns. Nothing celebrates. Energy flows from one form to another, the oldest law on Earth. Hours later, when the sun rises again, the scene has changed entirely. The herd grazes nearby, the young following their mothers across the wet plain. The cycle has already closed. Nothing in this world holds still long enough for memory. As the light strengthens, the landscape begins to shimmer with heat once more. The rivers gleam like liquid metal. Mist lifts from the ground and vanishes into the rising air. From above, this would look like the planet breathing, exhaling clouds, inhaling sunlight. Across the open floodplain, new shapes begin to move. Titanosaurs, colossal, long-necked giants, wade through shallow water, their massive tails cutting arcs behind them. Their skin shines pale gray in the morning light, rippling like molten steel with every step. Each footfall leaves behind a pool that slowly fills with silt and water. These tracks will outlast them, pressed into mud that one day will turn to stone. Millions of years from now, their footprints will still exist, frozen echoes of a morning like this one. Their movements are slow, unhurried. They have no enemies large enough to threaten them here. Their scale alone is their armor. Birds follow in their wake, plucking insects from the air, picking leeches from their hides. Smaller creatures move among their legs, feeding on the churned earth. The giant herbivores eat without end, stripping branches, swallowing leaves, grinding them in stomachs that never rest. Each bite powers forests, rivers, even the air itself, the great cycle of carbon and breath. The sun climbs higher. Shadows shrink. The heat grows thick, wrapping everything in haze. Far off, a line of mountains flickers through the glare. Their peaks are dark and fractured volcanoes sleeping between eruptions. Sometimes they exhale faint plumes of smoke so subtle you might miss them. But the earth never truly sleeps. Beneath those mountains, magma shifts and murmurs. If you were to strip away the forest, the rivers, the soil, to look through the crust of this living planet, you'd see rivers of molten stone, glowing and slow. That is the Earth's heartbeat, its real pulse. The warmth that feeds life above begins here in the dark, where pressure and time fold matter into energy. Every tree, every animal, every breath of wind is powered by this ancient furnace. It is strange to realize that life depends as much on fire as on water. The same volcanoes that destroy forests also create the soil that nourishes them. Ash, when it settles, becomes fertile ground. Every eruption is an ending and a beginning, indistinguishable in the scale of deep time. As afternoon passes into evening, the air cools slightly, though the world never truly loses its heat. The sky shifts again, pale orange melting into deep red. The surface of the river glows like glass. You can hear the distant roar of surf where the inland sea meets the open ocean. Waves crash endlessly, beating against the sand like a drum. Along the shoreline, creatures move in slow procession. Crocodiles bask half-submerged eyes glinting above the surface. Flocks of bird-like dinosaurs wade into the shallows, snatching at fish darting between waves. Further out, the shadows of larger hunters break the water, marine reptiles, their bodies long and flexible, sliding beneath the tide. As the sun sinks, its light flattens across the horizon, turning the sea into a sheet of gold. The air grows still. For a moment, you could believe the planet itself is holding its breath, and then the first stars appear faint at first, then countless. The night here is vast and clear, untouched by any human glow. The constellations stretch across the heavens, the same stars that will one day look down on us. From the forest behind the call of a bird echoes high, clear, and beautiful. It rises into the night, disappearing into the hum of crickets and the whisper of waves. It is the sound of the earth remembering itself. The world has no past and no future, only motion, a heartbeat steady and eternal, beneath a sky full of fire. The next dawn rises soft and golden, spilling across the horizon in slow waves. The light touches the tips of the trees, first conifers and cycads glittering with dew, then moves downward, igniting the world inch by inch. Mist drifts between the trunks, glowing white in the rising sun. The air is thick with moisture, and birdsong a chorus layered over the slow hum of insects. A small clearing opens between the trees, and within it, a shallow pond mirrors the sky. Its surface ripples as something stirs, below a turtle lifting its head, eyes half-lidded breaking the stillness. Around it, reeds sway in gentle rhythm, their tips heavy with seeds that shimmer like bronze dust. Nearby, dragonflies hover their wings, catching every sliver of light. The whole scene feels like a held breath, an almost sacred pause before the day begins in full. Then, in the distance movement, a line of small creatures breaks through the mist, bipedal feathered no taller than a child. They move with speed and awareness, weaving between low branches, each step sure and deliberate. Raptors, but not the monsters of cinema, not mindless hunters. They are pack creatures, social alert, speaking to each other in brief chirps and hisses. Their eyes gleam with something sharp, not cruelty, but comprehension. They are thinkers of their world, solving its challenges one generation at a time. The group stops near the pond. One tilts its head, watching the turtle sink beneath the water. Another snaps at a dragonfly missing by inches. They move with purpose and play in equal measure, their movements too precise to be random. Intelligence here is quiet, subtle, born from instinct, but reaching toward thought. In these small gestures, evolution rehearses the future. As the sun climbs higher, the mist burns away, revealing the vast landscape beyond. The forest gives way to open savanna, then to the glittering edge of an inland sea. The horizon seems endless. The air carries the mixed scents of salt pollen and distant smoke, volcanic ash, drifting unseen from eruptions far to the west. The earth itself is busy below its crust, shifting in slow-motion symphony. If you were to look down from above, you would see the continents mid-drift, separated by young oceans. North America split by a shallow sea. South America still tethered faintly to Antarctica. India racing north like a ship cutting through waves bound for collision with Asia, a meeting that will one day lift the Himalayas into the sky. The surface of the planet rearranges itself constantly, but the life above adapts as easily as breathing. On the shores of the inland sea, herds gather ceratopsians, with horns gleaming in sunlight. Ankylosaurs moving like armored tanks across the sand, their tails swaying in heavy arcs. Every few minutes, one lifts its head to test the air. Above them, pterosaurs glide in lazy circles, their wings stretched wide tips, slicing through the breeze. Some dive toward the water, snapping up fish that break the surface in flashes of silver. Others settle onto the cliffs, folding wings like sails after a long voyage. The sea itself is alive with motion. Ammonites drift just below the waves, their spiral shells spinning slowly as they move with the current. Schools of fish ripple like light through the water, each turn perfectly synchronized. Deeper still, dark shapes move shadows of larger predators. A mosasaur breaks the surface, its jaws snapping shut around a smaller creature with a sound like cracking wood. The splash echoes across the cliffs, then fades quickly, absorbed by the endless rhythm of the tide. The land and sea mirror each other, two halves of the same living engine. Every breath of wind that rises from the ocean carries moisture to the forests. Every leaf that falls returns nutrients to the rivers that flow back to the sea. The system is closed, perfect, endlessly cycling. The earth is not merely alive, it is aware in the way only nature can be, not thinking, not choosing, but becoming. By midday, the heat grows thick again. The air shimmers and the light takes on a golden haze. You can feel the temperature rise, the pressure building above the plains. Creatures seek shade. Dinosaurs rest near the watersides, heaving slowly, eyes half closed. Insects continue their constant song louder, now vibrating through the stillness. The sound is hypnotic, a reminder that even in the calmest moments, life here never truly stops moving. The Earth's warmth feels infinite, but it carries the whisper of imbalance. Volcanic gases thicken the atmosphere just enough to shift the climate further. Storms grow stronger, rains last longer. The seas creep higher, swallowing coastlines inch by inch. But none of this feels like disaster, not yet. The changes are slow, the adjustments constant. The creatures alive today will adapt as those before them did. To them, this is not instability. It is simply time moving as it always has. In the late afternoon, the light softens again. Shadows lengthen, the air cools slightly. The golden haze turns orange, then crimson. Birds rise in waves from the treetops, hundreds of them, their wings flashing like embers in the dying light. They circle, merge, separate, a single mind made of many bodies. The spectacle lasts only minutes, but it's enough to make you understand that flight has changed the planet forever. The sky is no longer empty. On the ground, the last of the sun spills across the plains. Small mammals emerge from burrows, cautious but quick, darting between rocks in search of food. Their lives are brief but relentless. They thrive in the shadows of giants, unnoticed but indispensable. One day they will inherit this world, but they don't know that yet. For now, survival is purpose enough. As the light fades, the volcanoes on the horizon flicker again. Thin lines of fire trace down their slopes, reflected in the water below. Ash drifts into the air, carried east by high winds. It settles slowly across forests and plains, unnoticed by the creatures below. Each flake of ash, each shift in the wind, is a sentence in the long story the earth is writing, a prelude faint but certain. The night that follows is cooler than before. The wind carries a strange dryness, almost metallic. The stars above gleam sharp and distant, clear as glass. Somewhere far from the shore, a streak of light crosses the sky, too small to notice, too faint to understand. It vanishes behind a cloud. No one looks up. The forests hum, the seas move, the planet breathes. And far beyond the edge of the sky, something ancient and silent continues its long invisible journey toward this very world. But here beneath the stars, the Cretaceous still thrives. The giants still walk. The air still glows. And the heartbeat of the planet, slow, steady, patient, never stops. Morning breaks without warning. The light doesn't rise so much as arrive a wash of gold through fog, scattering off leaves wet from night dew. The forest glows. The air hums again with warmth, heavy with the scent of sap and soil. Nothing about this morning feels different, yet everything about it carries a strange stillness. Birds take flight from the trees, wings slicing the air with sharp, quick sounds. Far off, the call of a hadrosaur echoes slow, drawn-out melodic. The herd moves along the bank of a wide river, their reflections rippling on the surface. Mist clings to the water, curling in slow spirals. Beyond them, the plains shimmer in rising heat, endless green, broken by streaks of red clay. It is another ordinary day in the last summer of the dinosaurs. They do not know this. They will never know this. To them, life is the same as it always has been, predictable, rhythmic, eternal. The great herds feed along the water. Raptors hunt in the shadows, quiet and calculating. Insects rise like smoke from the grass. The air vibrates with sound and motion, the pulse of a planet at its peak. And yet the stillness remains. It isn't silence. It's balance so perfect it feels unnatural. High above the clouds, where the blue of the atmosphere fades into black, the first spark appears. It's faint, smaller than a star, but moving too fast, too steady, too precise. No one below notices. How could they? It is as invisible as destiny. The spark grows. The darkness folds around it. For millions of years it has traveled alone, stone, ice, and iron, born from the chaos of the early solar system, drifting between planets like a forgotten thought. And now, drawn by gravity and accident, it falls toward this living world. The sky doesn't change yet. The earth keeps breathing. Near the coast, the sea rolls in steady rhythm. Pterosaurs glide over waves, their shadows slipping across the surface. A flock of small feathered birds moves inland, calling to one another with high whistling notes. In the forest, mammals sleep in burrows wrapped in roots and earth. Even the volcanoes are quiet today, their vents breathing faint wisps of smoke into the blue. Then, somewhere faintly, the light changes. Not brighter, just different. A single line of fire appears on the horizon, descending faster than thought. It grows wider, hotter, until the air itself ignites around it. The birds turn confused, wings flashing white as they scatter. The sound comes next, a low roar, distant at first, like a storm building behind the mountains. The object hits the upper atmosphere at nearly 70,000 kilometers per hour. The sky tears open. The air compresses and burns. Every living thing that can see the heavens stops. In that instant, daylight doubles. Shadows vanish. The world becomes all light. The fireball crosses the sky like a second sun. It leaves behind a trail that glows even after it's gone, a scar carved into the blue. In the forest, creatures run. The herds break formation, stampeding through trees that shatter under their weight. In the ocean, waves surge outward from nothing. Birds scream. The air itself trembles. Then comes the impact. It happens in silence first. An instant of absolute perfect stillness, and then the sound. The shockwave moves faster than any storm. It shreds, the forest flattens, trees, lifts dust and stone into the air as though the earth has been struck by its own reflection. The ocean leaps upward, water turning to vapor waves folding into fire. The atmosphere screams. A flash brighter than 1,000 suns burns across half the world. The shockwave circles the planet within hours. Everything that breathes feels it first as vibration, then as pressure, then as heat. For hundreds of kilometers in every direction, forests ignite. Firestorms rise, devouring oxygen faster than the wind can replace it. Animals flee not from predators now, but from the sky itself. The world has never known a sound this vast, a force this absolute. Where the asteroid struck the sea has vanished, replaced by a crater 30 kilometers deep. Rock melted to plasma sprays upward and falls back as rain made of fire. The boundary between atmosphere and Earth dissolves. The planet reshapes itself in real time. Far away, thousands of miles from the impact site, the effects still come. Winds scream through valleys. Ash falls like black snow. The day turns gray, then orange, then dark. But in that darkness, some things endure. A small burrow deep beneath a root system holds a sleeping mammal warm and still. Its tunnel shelters it from the burning air above. In a nearby pond, amphibians burrow into the mud, the water cooling as the light fades. Seeds sealed within hard shells wait quietly in the soil. The great ones fall, but the small endure. Above the smoke and ash, the sky glows red, then black. Lightning flashes within the clouds of soot. The temperature drops. The fires die not from rain, but from lack of oxygen. The forests are gone. The seas are silent. The world enters its long night. For days, then weeks, then months, the sky remains dark. Ash blocks the sun. Photosynthesis stops. Plants die. Herbivores starve. The chain collapses link by link, quietly, efficiently. The earth cools faster than it ever has before, and yet beneath the surface in the quiet places, life holds on. Insects, burrowing mammals, seeds, spores, and roots, all waiting for the light to return. They don't know why. They don't need to. Survival isn't knowledge. It's memory written in code older than thought. The planet once so loud with sound becomes almost silent. Winds whisper through empty valleys. Waves lap against blackened shores. The stars above shine through the dust like distant eyes. For thousands of years the world remains cold, but time even here never stops moving. The ash begins to fall. The sky slowly clears. The light returns thin and weak at first, then golden once again. Ferns appear first, their green cutting through gray. Then moss, then grass, then flowers. The survivors emerge one by one, birds from the branches, mammals from the ground, fish from the rivers that still flow. The dinosaurs are gone, but their blood remains in feathers, in lungs, in the fragile bones of every bird that sings. The earth doesn't remember in grief. It remembers in form. Every extinction is also an inheritance. And so the planet breathes again. The warmth returns. The forests rise from ash. Life begins another chapter, not weaker, not lesser, just different. The heartbeat continues, slower, softer, but steady. The world turns. And under the same stars unchanged since the beginning, the earth writes its story again. Centuries pass. Then millennia. The earth exhales. The darkness begins to loosen its grip. At first light returns only as a dim haze. Sunlight filtered through layers of ash still hanging in the sky. It paints the horizon in muted tones of copper and pale gold. The world once drowned in fire now glows faintly, as if remembering what warmth feels like. Rain begins to fall again, not the storms of the Cretaceous, but slow, persistent rain that carries the scent of minerals and rebirth. Rivers clogged with silt and soot begin to carve new paths. Lakes form in the hollows left by impact craters. The seas, once boiling from shock, cool and stabilize. The air clears molecule by molecule until one day sunlight touches the surface again without distortion. The long night is over. What rises from the silence is not the same world that fell. The forests are gone, the jungles reduced to ghosts of charcoal and dust. The great herds of dinosaurs have vanished. The plains that once thundered with their footsteps now stretch wide and empty, painted only with the soft greens of ferns and mosses. But life has returned. At first, it is humble ferns unfolding across the blackened soil, their roots clutching at the fragile earth. Insects, the eternal survivors, buzz low to the ground, seeking the warmth of light. Their wings catch on the breeze, carrying pollen from one reborn flower to another. The world feels lighter now, the air thinner, the sky broader. It is not the same planet it once was, the balance has shifted. With so many giants gone, the small things have room to grow. From beneath the ground, mammals emerge. They are cautious, blinking in the strange, clean light. Their fur is thick, their movements nervous. For generations they lived in darkness, feeding, breeding, surviving in silence, while the world above burned. Now they step into a new age, one they never expected to inherit. They scavenge, they climb, they explore. They learn to adapt to every niche, forest, mountain, coast, and plain. Their hearts beat faster than the giants ever did. Their young are born small, but grow fast. Their minds restless and sharp learn to solve problems not with strength, but with memory. Above them, birds fill the sky. They are the only remaining lineage of the dinosaurs, transformed yet familiar. Their bones light their wings strong. They build nests in the broken trunks of ancient trees and sing songs that echo across the quiet plains. In their voices, the earth remembers flight. The new forests spread quickly. First ferns and shrubs, then young trees rising from volcanic soil. Within a few million years, the world is green again. A different green, softer, more fragile. The earth, it seems, has forgiven itself. Volcanoes still breathe, but more gently now. The oceans shimmer blue and calm. The continents drift onward, still moving at their glacial pace, reshaping coastlines, raising mountains, erasing craters. Nothing stands still. Even destruction, given enough time, becomes creation. And within this quiet renewal, evolution accelerates. The mammals diversify. Some remain small and nimble, darting through the underbrush. Others grow larger, bolder. The planet experiments again, as it always does, sculpting new forms from old patterns. Tails shorten, hands strengthen, eyes shift forward, minds grow. It will be tens of millions of years before any of them begin to wonder what came before. But the blueprint of thought has already been written in curiosity, in memory, in the instinct to look upward. The skies, once dark with ash, now blaze with color again. Sunsets stretch in bands of violet and gold, reflected in rivers that wind through green valleys. The air hums with the new language of life, calls songs the whisper of wings. The earth has remade itself not through design, but through persistence. It doesn't forget, it doesn't regret, it endures. Somewhere in a shallow pool at the edge of a forest, a reflection trembles. The water is calm, disturbed only by a ripple, the movement of a small creature bending to drink. The reflection it creates is not the face of a dinosaur or a reptile or any ancient giant. It's something new, smaller, softer, watching its surroundings with intent eyes that seem almost thoughtful. The world feels young again. If you listen closely, you can still hear it, the faint, slow rhythm deep beneath your feet. The same heartbeat that pulsed beneath the jungles of the Cretaceous still moves through the soil, through the rivers, through every living thing that breathes. Time, as always, folds forward. The scars of the past fade beneath layers of new life. Forests thicken, seas rise and fall, mountains wear down and grow again. Every generation builds upon the bones of the one before carrying fragments of memory in its blood. And though the great age of the dinosaurs is gone, its echo remains. It lives in the curve of a bird's wing, in the patient breath of a crocodile, waiting by the water, in the amber light that filters through ancient trees. The world turns slow and steady beneath the same stars that watched it burn and watched it heal. And in that turning, everything that ever lived remains a part of everything that lives now. The story never ended. It only changed its voice. The earth continues breathing, shifting, remembering a planet forever. Writing itself anew, each age a single line in an endless poem, and somewhere in the quiet between the tides, the heartbeat still whispers through the stone. The world lives. The centuries flow into millions of years. The planet rebuilt from ruin moves forward without hesitation. What was once ash is now soil. What was once silence is now song. The air is lighter, the oceans brighter, and the continents, ever restless, continue their slow, imperceptible dance. Forests return in layers. The first are simple ferns and conifers, reclaiming the barren land, but soon the flowering plants rise again. Petals open in the sunlight, calling to the descendants of ancient insects that survived the cataclysm. Their wings, transparent and delicate, glitter in the morning air as they weave through meadows that stretch for miles. Pollination resumes silent and relentless, the rhythm of renewal. In these reborn forests, the new rulers of Earth multiply. The mammals that once hid underground now climb trees, swim in rivers, or run across open plains. Their forms split and diverge. Some evolve into herbivores, with teeth shaped for grinding, others into predators, with claws built for precision. The variety of life expands faster than ever before. This is a new world. Smaller, faster, quieter, but no less alive. The air itself has changed. The carbon that once suffocated the planet has settled into stone and plant. The sky is clear again, its blue sharp and endless. The sun feels closer, warmer, almost forgiving. Clouds drift lazily across it, scattering light over an earth in recovery. From a high ridge where the land drops into a vast valley, the view stretches for hundreds of miles. Rivers snake through fields of grass that sway in the wind like ocean waves. The sound is soft and endless, a whisper between earth and sky. Herds of early ungulates graze there, ancestors of creatures that will one day be called deer and horses. Small predators watch from the tall grass, their movements sleek and controlled. The balance is new, but already perfect. In the distance, thunder murmurs not from storms, but from the ground itself, a reminder that the planet still moves beneath its skin. The plates shift, the crust cracks, and mountains begin to rise where there were none before. The Himalayas start their long climb toward the heavens as India collides with Asia. The Andes stretch along a new western edge. Every tremor, every fold of the crust writes another verse in Earth's unfinished story. The oceans answer. Currents shift, temperatures balance. The water grows colder at the poles, warmer at the equator. Ice returns for the first time in millions of years, small at first, then spreading. Seasons take shape again, summer, winter renewal. Life adjusts its rhythm to the tilt of the planet. The forests hum with movement. Birds fill the air, their feathers sleek, their songs more complex than before. Their ancestors once roared, now they sing. Their music fills the spaces where giants once walked. Evolution has not lost its imagination, it has only changed its tempo. In the shade of a large fig tree, a family of small primates moves carefully among the branches. Their hands are deft, their eyes forward, their curiosity boundless. They leap from limb to limb with grace, pausing often to study the world below. They are not powerful, not yet intelligent in the way of future creatures, but their awareness is growing. They see patterns. They remember paths. They teach their young which fruits to eat, which snakes to avoid, where the rivers are safe to cross. This is how memory becomes thought, and thought given enough time becomes understanding. The sun moves westward, painting the land in amber light. The world looks calm again, but it is never truly still. Every sunset hides motion molecules, tides, tectonics, DNA. The same energy that once shattered continents now shapes the minds of creatures who will one day wonder how it all began. Night comes gently. The temperature drops. The forest glows faintly with the light of insects, stars mirroring themselves in miniature among the trees. The air cools, carrying scents of fruit flowers and rain-soaked earth. Somewhere nearby, a stream murmurs. The rhythm of water has returned. You can feel the heartbeat again, slower, now deeper, but steady. The planet has entered a new balance, fragile, beautiful, alive. Every creature living upon it carries the memory of fire in its blood, though none remember the reason. The past no longer burns. It simply beats quietly within everything that breathes. Millions more years will pass. The forests will expand and contract with each ice age. Species will vanish, and new ones will rise to take their place. But through every transformation, one constant remains: the Earth's persistence. The world no longer belongs to giants. It belongs to the patient, the adaptable, the curious. And someday, far in the future, one of those curious creatures will pick up a stone, strike it against another, and make a spark. That spark will become fire. And in that moment, a memory as old as the planet itself will awaken. The same fire that destroyed worlds will now warm hands. The same energy that fell from the sky will be tamed in a flicker of light. Life will have come full circle. But for now, the night is peaceful. The wind moves through the trees, gentle and constant. The stars shimmer above exactly as they did when dinosaurs ruled below them. The earth turns its surface remade, its story renewed. And beneath it all, unchanged, unstoppable, the ancient rhythm continues. The heartbeat of the world. Steady, endless, alive. Dawn breaks over an unfamiliar world. Not the humid jungle of the Cretaceous, not the ashen silence of the aftermath, but something gentler, cleaner, full of color and space. The air is lighter now. The forests no longer tower endlessly into the sky, but grow in balanced patterns, grasslands stretching between patches of trees, rivers winding through valleys that glint silver under the morning sun. Life hums quietly. Every sound, the call of birds, the rustle of leaves, the soft lap of water feels deliberate part of a vast harmony that took millions of years to compose. From the grass, a shadow moves, small, quick, upright for a moment before dropping to all fours again. It's a mammal one, of many sleek-furred, long-tailed, its limbs made for climbing and grasping. It pauses, sniffing the air. Its eyes catch the light, not dull instinct, but awareness. Behind those eyes, thought flickers, curiosity kindling like a spark. These creatures live lightly on the land, yet they are already rewriting it. They shape the forest by what they eat, spread seeds through their movement, choose safe paths and remember them. Each generation learns from the one before, behavior passed not through mutation, but through imitation. Knowledge is beginning to echo through blood and bone. In the canopy, birds wheel and call. Their songs are intricate now, not simple cries of territory or warning, but layered melodies of identity and display. Wings flash in iridescent color. Feathers, once a survival tool, have become art. The skies that once belonged to predators now belong to performers. The earth below continues its slow transformation. Volcanoes still breathe, but their fury has softened into rhythm. Their ash feeds the soil. Rivers branch and merge, drawing maps that will one day be continents and countries. The atmosphere balances itself, oxygen, rich, carbon restrained. The planet has learned moderation. Seasons turn. Snow touches the northern mountains, melts into rivers that feed the plains. In the south, Rainforests grow dense and alive, echoing the ancient warmth of eras long past. The circle of climate destroyed once by fire and stone has found equilibrium again. In one of those forests, something new stirs. A group of primates moves among the branches, their hands deft, their faces expressive. Their eyes linger on the horizon longer than before. When one finds a fallen branch, it lifts it, testing its weight, its balance, not for food, not for defense, but for curiosity. It drops it again, but the thought lingers. The earth is teaching its next students. Millions of years later, that same curiosity will shape fire language and memory. But here it is only beginning, a quiet hum in the back of the mind, a question forming before the invention of words. The sky burns gold as evening comes. The plains shimmer with movement, grazing herds hunting cats, the rising shadows of flight. The world is rich, full of sound, full of motion. Life has found its rhythm again, but that rhythm now holds something more: awareness. Far away, the ocean breathes against the shore, waves folding into one another in endless succession. The same sea that once hid mosasaurs now carries whales, massive intelligence, speaking to each other in tones that roll across miles of water. They are the new giants shaped by the same evolutionary imagination that sculpted the dinosaurs. It's almost poetic, the air and the sea trading roles of dominance, one age giving birth to another. Nothing is wasted. Every extinction, every silence becomes the seed of what comes next. The continents drift on. Australia breaks free and carries its unique cargo of marsupials. Africa blooms with savannas, and along its rivers, early hominins begin to stand a little taller. They walk upright now, awkwardly, then confidently. They carry the earth within them, the minerals in their bones, the salt of ancient oceans in their blood, the breath of trees in their lungs. And though they will one day build tools, languages, and cities, their story is not separate from the one that came before. It is an extension of it, a continuation. Because the planet doesn't start over, it evolves its memory. Every cell, every heartbeat, every gust of wind carries traces of all the worlds that came before the Cretaceous, the Permian, the Ordovician, the very first dawn of life itself. When a human hand holds a stone, it holds 4 billion years of history. When a match strikes fire, it repeats the same explosion that once ended an age. When a child looks up at the stars, they are seeing the same constellations that shone above the last dinosaurs. The universe hasn't changed, only the witness has. The night falls again softly. The forests murmur, rivers glitter under moonlight, and the oceans whisper the same refrain they always have: motion, renewal, endurance. And beneath it all, beneath the soil, beneath the roots, beneath the layers of time, the same pulse continues. The heartbeat of the planet, steady, eternal. The song that began before life and will continue long after it. Everything born from Earth eventually returns to it, not as loss, but as completion. Dust to dust, breath to wind, light to light. And somewhere beyond thought and language, the world remembers. There was once fire, there was once silence, and from both there came life. The story does not end. It never does. Because the earth is not a place. It is a living memory, and we are its latest dream. The dream continues. Time to the planet is nothing more than breath, a quiet inhale, a patient exhale that lasts across eons. Mountains rise and crumble. Rivers change course. Entire ecosystems bloom and fade without leaving a mark visible to the sky. Yet beneath the constant rearranging, one truth endures: life adapts, always. The new world hums with purpose. Grasses sweep across continents, a vast green skin covering the earth. Herds of animals thunder through the savannas. Elephants, antelopes, bison, their migrations carving invisible highways through the land. The air is full of dust, pollen, and movement. The planet has become a symphony of coexistence, each species a note in its endless score. Above the plains, clouds gather in great spirals. Rain falls, filling rivers that braid through valleys, feeding deltas that spill into seas. The oceans teem with color again. Coral reefs rise from stone, hosting cities of fish that glitter in the filtered light. Whales breach the surface, sending columns of spray skyward. Their calls vibrate through the deep, low, and mournful, like the memory of thunder. Inland, the forests thicken. Vines hang from high branches. The air hums with insects and birds. Somewhere among the shadows, a fire flickers. It is not lightning. It is not volcanic. It is deliberate. A small group of upright beings crouches near the flames. Their bodies are lean and agile, their faces sharp with awareness. The fire crackles reflected in their eyes, two sources of light staring into one another, ancient energy meeting its own reflection. For the first time, life understands the very force that shaped it. The flames dance, and so does the light in their minds. They reach out cautious, then confident. One adds a dry branch, another shields it from the wind. Sparks leap upward into the night, rising like memories returning to the stars. It is a simple act, but it changes everything. Around that small circle of warmth, stories begin. Shadows move across stone walls, and the first art takes form: handprints, animals, marks of belonging. The creatures that once merely endured now create. They speak. They imagine. The earth for the first time is aware of itself. Through these fragile minds, it begins to remember, not through fossils or strata, but through words, through song, through wonder. The same planet that once roared with dinosaurs now whispers through human breath. Civilizations rise, built from claystone and the will to understand. Humans learn to map the sky, to harness rivers, to till soil, to build walls and towers that stretch upward as if trying to touch the stars that watch them grow. They name the constellations, though the stars have not changed. They chart the moon, not realizing it has been watching since before life itself. With each discovery, they uncover more of what the Earth already knows. They split atoms, channel lightning, send their voices across oceans. They forget sometimes that these powers are not new, only borrowed. The heat that drives their machines is the same that once moved volcanoes. The circuits that power their cities carry the same energy that sparked life in ancient seas. And yet, humanity is both the planet's greatest creation and its most dangerous question. For every city that rises, a forest falls. For every discovery, something is lost. The balance tilts once again, slowly, invisibly, not from fire falling from the sky this time, but from hands that reshape the world faster than nature can mend it. Still the earth endures. It has faced worse and found renewal in ruin. Even now, beneath the noise of engines and machines, the old rhythm continues: the tide, the wind, the pulse of magma under rock. The heartbeat that outlasted the dinosaurs beats still steady and sure. And within the noise of modern life, a quiet understanding begins to stir again. People look back through history, through fossils, through the bones of worlds long gone, and see the pattern. They begin to understand that they are not separate from the earth, but made of it. That every breath they take is shared with every living thing that ever was. Science replaces myth, but awe remains. A telescope pointed toward a distant galaxy reveals not separation, but connection. The same atoms that built the stars also built the blood that moves through human veins. Every discovery leads not outward, but inward. The story, it turns out, was never about domination. It was always about belonging. The earth is not a backdrop to human life. It is the author of it. And like any author, it waits to see how the next chapter will be written. The night sky above the cities is still the same sky that watched the last dinosaur fall. The stars still burn, indifferent and eternal. The wind still carries dust older than civilization, particles that once floated above primeval seas. Somewhere, a child looks up, maybe through a window, maybe from a quiet field, and wonders what came before. They imagine creatures with wings, forests made of giants, oceans glowing with ancient light. They feel something deep in their chest, something familiar but unspoken. That feeling is recognition. It is the echo of the planet itself. The same heartbeat carried through stone, fire, and blood, reaching across time to whisper, "You were always part of me." The story continues, not ending, not beginning, just flowing. From magma to muscle, from wave to thought, from silence to song. The earth turns beneath the same eternal sky, and somewhere under all the noise, all the motion, all the forgetting, the heartbeat remains, slow, steady, alive. There is a silence that exists only at the edge of understanding, the quiet you hear when you finally realize that everything everywhere is connected. It begins in the pulse of your veins, in the rhythm of your breathing, and expands outward to the wind sliding through the trees, to the tides moving beneath the moon, to the molten rivers deep under the crust. That same pulse has been beating since before time had names for things. And now, in this age of machines and signals, the earth still beats beneath you. Look closer. Beneath the concrete and cables, beneath the noise of engines and cities, the soil still moves. Roots push through the smallest cracks, chasing the dark for water and light. Rain still falls, softening stone into earth, into clay, into new beginnings. The planet has not forgotten how to live. It simply waits for its children to remember. Humans stand at a strange place in the story, both miracle and mirror. They are the only creatures who can understand the planet's age, who can measure the distance to the stars, who can split atoms and stitch hearts. Yet for all that power, they are also the only ones capable of forgetting that they are made of the same dust that built the world. The earth never punishes, it only responds. When forests burn, it sends rain. When oceans rise, it redraws its coastlines. When air grows heavy with what we release, it adjusts the balance. The planet doesn't act in anger, it corrects, slowly, inevitably. And even now, amid the noise and speed, small miracles unfold quietly. A sprout pushes through the asphalt on a city street. A bird builds its nest on a satellite dish. A whale surfaces near a cargo ship, exhaling a breath that clouds the sky. Life keeps moving through the cracks we forget to guard. If you were to step back far enough to see the whole, you'd notice that Earth still glows. Not metaphorically, but literally. The forests radiate infrared light. The oceans shimmer with planktonic bioluminescence. Lightning dances through the upper atmosphere like electric veins. The planet is a living organism, a body of stone and storm and breath, and we are cells within it. It's easy to forget because the modern world moves faster than nature's language. But if you stop, really stop and listen, you can still hear it. The same rhythm that once moved through dinosaurs, through the roots of Cretaceous forests, through the lungs of whales and the wings of birds, now moves through you. Every breath you take is ancient. Every molecule of oxygen has been recycled through fire, ocean, and blood 1,000 times. You are breathing the same air that cooled the planet after the impact. You are inhaling history, and the planet remembers. Not as we do in stories or names, but in pattern, in the cycle of carbon and water, in the tilt of its axis, in the quiet symmetry of rebirth. From its core to its clouds, Earth has one message: everything returns. Stars collapse into dust. Dust becomes stone. Stone becomes soil. Soil becomes life. And life inevitably becomes memory. Some nights when the sky is clear and the hum of machines fades, you can see that memory stretched above you, the Milky Way, a river of ancient light flowing endlessly through the dark. It is not separate from you. It is the same matter rearranged into different forms, all glowing with the same fire. You are quite literally the universe becoming aware of itself. The Earth looking back at its own reflection. Civilizations will rise and fall. Languages will vanish. The outlines of continents will change again. But the heartbeat will continue. It always has. It always will. Perhaps that's the quiet lesson written through all of history, that survival was never the purpose. Continuity was. Connection was. When you stand at the edge of the ocean and feel the wind on your face, you are standing in the same breath that moved the waves of the Cretaceous seas. When you touch the bark of an old tree, your hand meets the living descendant of those that fed the first insects and birds. When you listen, truly listen to silence, you can almost hear it, that low, steady thrum rising from the heart of the world. It is saying, I am still here, not as past, not as memory, but as presence. And you standing there are part of its sentence. Not the end, not even the middle. Just one phrase in a paragraph too vast to ever finish. The fire that once ended an age gave birth to everything you know. The long night that followed gave rise to every color, every sound, every possibility. The planet turned, the sky cleared, and the world began again, not new, but wiser. And now it turns still. Through ice and storm, through light and shadow, through extinction and renewal. The same rhythm unbroken, the heartbeat of the planet, the memory of all things, the sound that began before time and will echo long after it. The world lives, and through it so do we.